Welcome to Revenue Boost, a marketing podcast, the ultimate resource for business leaders eager to skyrocket your company's growth. I'm your host, Kerry Curran, and this episode is Breaking Through the Clutter, the power of creativity in marketing for business growth. Today's special guest is industry veteran Faye Doyle. In this episode, we'll dive into the critical role of creativity in marketing. Faye will share her insights on how companies can stand out in a crowded marketplace and build brand that resonates with consumers. We'll explore practical strategies for integrating creativity into your marketing efforts and how to balance short-term performance with long-term brand building. So if you're ready to learn how to break through the noise and drive sustainable business growth, join us for an enlightening conversation with Faye. Let's go. Welcome, Faye. Please tell us a bit about yourself and your extensive experience in marketing.
Thank you, Kerry, for having me. So excited to be here. My background spans over 20 years in ad agencies, both large and boutique, in mostly Boston, but also a bit of New York. I also have some corporate marketing experience in the B2B space, as well as in performance marketing. So a little bit of a variety, which is nice.
Excellent. I know you've worked with a number of different brands and verticals and business challenges. So excited to tap into your wealth of knowledge today. So I know we've talked about a number of topics, but from the top, like what do you recommend for a company that's focused on building their brand awareness, but also tying it to revenue and brand growth?
It's such a good question. And if you're a marketer, you're probably waking up every day and asking yourself that very question. My focus would be the use of creativity. So it's crucial for brand awareness because you need to be able to break through the noise, capture consumers' attention, make sure that anything that you're communicating to them is memorable, so that they can really, when it comes time to make a purchase, they're keeping you top of mind. So creativity, I would say, is the crucial component or ingredient to that.
Yeah, and creativity is not just a task or initiative. So how can companies really build creativity into their culture and process to make their marketing stand out?
Well, I think the first and foremost thing is that there needs to be internal alignment. Yeah. If there is differing opinions on what the brand stands for, who the brand is, and how the brand is represented, you're not going to be able to get that cohesive and kind of breakthrough, memorable branding opportunity. So internal alignment is absolutely key for that.
Yeah. And so, getting that internal buy-in, like how have you done that? Because I know there's always a lot of internal different opinions and stakeholders and egos.
Yeah, there's a lot. Everybody has different priorities. I think branding can mean different things to different internal stakeholders. And then how that actually comes to life could mean different things to different people. Trust is really, at the end of the day, what this is all about. So once there is alignment, it's trusting the marketing team to be able to bring that to life in an effective way. But also give some room to try different tactics and see what works. And even more importantly, what doesn't work. You can scale the things that work and you can sunset things that aren't. And that over time gives you focus. It's just constant. And to think about it as almost a constant optimization of your marketing strategies and tactics.
Yeah. And do you find that when you kind of bring the stakeholders along or involve them, it's a little bit easier to get them kind of their buy-in? Or
it's crucial. That is an absolute must. No one likes to be surprised. Everybody would like to participate and influence the direction of where the brand is going to go. And so just making sure that along the way, those stakeholders have an opportunity to react and provide input, and then see their reactions and input be reflected in the next iteration. At the end of the day, everybody's going to be really excited about what was brought to life because everybody had a hand in it.
Yeah, they just want to be heard and be part of the process. Now, that makes a lot of
Exactly.
sense. I'm sure that's easier said than done, but totally get that.
Yeah.
So, as you're talking to brands today, and I know we've talked a bit about this, it seems like there's, a lot of focus on short-term performance and driving sales as quickly as possible, but there's still the need for long-term brand building. And really, the ultimate opportunity is to parallel path the two, but that's not always easy. But talk about your kind of perspective on, the balance between the longer term initiatives and the shorter term.
It's so tricky. I believe that there needs to be an integration of both top of funnel brand awareness, communication, as well as mid and bottom funnel. Pure integration. I don't think one works without the other.
Yeah.
I think in performance marketing, we're really focused on quick sale. But if you don't have a brand that you're building along the way, you're going to get some diminishing returns with what you're putting out into the market and what you're expecting consumers to take action on. So, sustainable growth requires a balance of both. And that will help you maintain their sales momentum and create loyalty and repeat and retention.
Yeah, I think about that a lot when I get, say, a social ad that's just promoting discount, 60% off for a brand that I've never heard of or had any relationships to. And it's like, I don't even know, like you're already negotiating against yourself, offering me, that's not your brand and value prop if you're just going out of the gates with discounts. So I get it. Yeah. But at the same time, like you're saying, it's that companies and brands are just, there's a huge focus on trying to drive those sales and getting brands, and I know your clients, to see that and integrate or invest in the upper funnel and the branding. So how do you convince a skeptical CFO or executive team about the value of that long-term investment?
Well, I've never met a CFO that isn't skeptical. Let's start there. And that's for very good reason.
Yeah.
I think in marketing, we need to make sure that we're justifying the investment.
Yeah.
And in order for us to do that, we need to be providing everybody clear metrics that everyone, key stakeholders, but most especially the CFO, can agree on and say, at the end of this, we're going to agree whether this is successful or not based on these things. And that's up to, it's almost like the marketing team needs to market their marketing plan. You have to show how you're measuring success, what the importance is about increasing brand awareness, make sure that you've got really tangible metrics on, we're starting here with brand awareness, we're going to go here. Or at least that's what our goal, and here's what our tactics are to be able to deliver on that goal.
Yeah.
But making sure that there's tangible, quantifiable results that are associated with any sort of marketing activity you're doing. And then also doing some education on why some of this stuff is important, because a lot of these tactics sometimes don't have an immediate return.
Right.
And so it's not just saying, here's what we're doing and here's how we're measuring it. It's also explaining why these things are important.
Yeah. And so kind of aligning the marketing tactics with the results and the customer journey and funnel.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so how do you have an approach or recommendations for like kind of showing metrics or success for kind of those upper funnel branding initiatives that can't be measured as much as a paid search click?
Yeah, I mean, again, going back to education, context, the reasons why certain strategies and tactics are what the role is of a lot of those tactics, and making sure that everybody is informed and that you're being transparent. That's vital.
Yeah.
We always need to be explaining the why behind our strategies. We don't just
Mhm.
create things and say, here's what we're going to do, and here are the inputs that went into it. It really helps to level set on why this type of approach is going to be important for the business.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, yeah, I think balancing those long-term efforts with quick wins will help kind of prove out the immediate impact.
Yeah, no, it's so important. And I know I think about that a lot. Like just because you can't tie it to a specific sale doesn't mean it didn't, that initiative didn't, impact the customer and drive that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I know we talked a bit about kind of the importance and getting the buy-in, but talk a bit more about the importance of that brand, creative brand identity to break through the clutter.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, there's it's such a great question, and as we know, many different brands have different interpretations of how they convey themselves. I think integration
Hmm.
across every single touch point
Yeah.
is absolutely crucial. And it's not just consumer facing
Hmm.
communication, it's also internal communication, employee
Hmm.
engagement.
Yeah.
Um, Making sure that any sort of earned media or press is, that any activity that we're generating earned media from is kind of consistent with the values and the mission and vision for the brand.
Yeah.
So across all the funnel, they all have to work together. And in many cases, they all need to be firing and working together.
Yeah. And I know we talked a bit too about just that, those fundamentals, and how just there's kind of a lack of appreciation for the importance of that in the process. Like, have you seen that turning around at all?
Um, I feel like this is kind of a pendulum swing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there is a reason why marketing, it's sounds silly to say, but there is a reason why marketing has existed
Yeah.
for many, many years,
Hmm.
and it works. It is required in order to achieve that sustainable growth. And
Hmm.
there are fundamental building blocks like the
Yeah.
funnel
Yeah.
that we can't walk away from. We're always challenged to reinvent and innovate.
Hmm.
Um, but there's also a reason why the fundamentals are what they are, and
Yeah.
that's your base.
Yeah.
So always have to go back to that. And once that's checked off,
Hmm.
go and innovate and reinvent and try something different all day long.
Yeah. No, it's so important. Again, to like you're saying, it's just there's a lot of noise out there in creating that brand and that experience. Great. And I know you're talking to you have a lot of clients and you're talking to a lot of brands. Are there any other key like business challenges or just growth or marketing challenges that you're hearing frequently?
I mean, it's a lot of it is very consistent with what we've been hearing over the
Yeah.
last 10 or so years. Um, you, you know, Consumer sentiment when it comes to the economy, a
Hmm.
cluttered marketplace,
Yeah.
um, the pressure for marketers to deliver short-term results
Yeah.
in a significant way,
Hmm.
the good old data analysis paralysis problem
Hmm.
persists.
Hmm.
And in fact, I think the data analysis paralysis takes our attention away from what the true goal
Hmm.
needs to be. I mean, we could spend a
Right.
lot of time swimming in data and trying to figure it out when sometimes it's helpful to just, pull out of the numbers,
Right.
look at things at a more broad level, and
Mhm.
then make an informed decision on how to proceed.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to be good and ideally great. Um, but it needs to also be consistent too
Yeah.
in terms of presenting yourself to a consumer.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've seen brands so focused on the metrics that they turned off upper funnel and mid funnel initiatives because they couldn't prove the incrementality. And to your point, it's like you need to be doing that, building that engagement with your target audience, and while you're investing in the lower funnel kind of more quick wins. And I think that's just the most important aspect of integration in marketing today. But we know that's not always always the case.
Going back to the beginning of our conversation,
yeah,
using what you have in front of you with a higher degree of comfort with creativity,
yeah,
and expressing the brand in ways that are memorable. Like that's, it's the creativity and the tactics, and then how do we measure the impact of that work?
Yeah. And what else are you hearing these days?
Good question. I have heard strain from multiple sectors.
Yeah.
Cost of goods is rising, of course. Like I said, the economy, inflation, all of that is having a domino effect across every single sector.
Yeah.
And consumers are skeptical. I also think this is tough with it being a presidential election year. I'm finding that there are clients that want to kind of just pause and see what happens over the next 6 months. Not invest significantly in any direction because there's so much uncertainty about what's going to unfold in the fall.
Yeah. But what's your recommendation to those brands? Or what would be?
It's a good question. I think their concern is valid.
Yeah.
I would be concerned about shutting things off completely. And I also think that we, as marketers, can take an educated and informed bet on what we should be doing in this time of, in this kind of volatile time. Because here again, consistency. Integration, activity, consistency.
Right. And being out there, and to your point of like being consistently out there in a way that's helps you stand out, that's going to be valuable in the long run, because it's that things will settle down and you don't want to be left behind or left out of the kind of consumer mindset. So
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. That's what they said a lot about that during the recession. We had a lot of clients in the 2008, 2009 timeframe saying, what should we be doing?
Yeah.
And I stand behind our perspective, which was you have to keep going, because that shows brand strength.
Yeah.
The second that you pull back, it shows brand weakness, which kind of, exacerbates consumers' own concern.
Right. Yeah. No, that makes so much sense. And I know it's we're old enough to have been through this before, and we will get through it. We'll come out ahead. And I do think I've definitely seen marketers are, taking more of a stance and shouting from the rooftops the importance of the foundational element marketing and investing. So I think right now, even though brands are, heavy doubling down on sales and performance, that it's, to your point, the pendulum will swing back, hopefully. So,
and you got to be ready for it.
You have to be ready. Yeah. And you don't want to have to start from scratch then either. So
exactly.
Great. Yeah. So any final thoughts on kind of the importance of integrating your brand awareness and strategy with your overall growth strategy and business goals?
The only other thing I would say is I have a lot of excitement and energy around new startups, technology, new goods and services for consumers. A lot of what we talked about, I think back to legacy brands or very established brands. But those new ones that are up and coming, I do think that is going to help consumers have greater choice. which could be a double-edged sword, but
Mm-hmm.
if there's something new and different to talk about that's going to benefit the consumer, then innovation and reinvention is key. So I'm really excited to see what's going to be coming up next, especially for those startup brands.
Yeah, no, me too. I definitely think, I don't think us marketers are going to be out of jobs. I think there's going to be more demand for that human creative aspect. There's only so much that our chat GPT tools can do. So
yeah, there is really, I mean, for all it can do, it has severe limitations. And by the way, humans are the ones that are inputting all of that information and to get the output back. So you can't take humans out of it yet.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Faye. This has been tremendous. I appreciate your sharing your insights and expertise with us, and hopefully we can have you on again. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Kerry. This is fun. It was nice seeing you, and thank you for having me on.
Thank you.